And every American citizen, every inhabitant of this country should be offended by what this administration is doing. But beyond that, every citizen in this country ought to be afraid. This is how you get authoritarianism. This is remarkably similar to kind of what happened in Europe in the 30s. It's consistent with what we saw happen in Hungary and in Turkey in later days over the course of the last 10, 15, 20 years. And that's not a path that this country wants to go down. And I want people to understand this. If you don't stand up and fight now, if you don't take a position now, it's going to be too late. We can't say we can wait just a little longer. No, the time is now to stand up and do all that we can to fight this administration. Now.
And you can hear the urgency in the former Attorney General's voice. Whoa. My name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. Well, that was President Obama's former AG, Eric Holder, a man who is known for his remarkably cool and calm demeanor, especially under pressure. But recently, he's been giving interviews ringing the alarm bells that we as a nation are running out of time. A message that seems to be falling on deaf ears in Congress. And recently, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska explained why so many of her colleagues remained silent while she was speaking to a nonprofit group home in Alaska.
Or who represent people who are afraid. We are all afraid. Okay. That's what I'm stating. But we are, we're in a time and a place where I don't know. I certainly have not. I have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice, because retaliation is real, and that's not right. But that's what you've asked me to do, and so I'm going to use my voice to the best of my ability, and sometimes it will be viewed in a way that, well, that's pretty confrontational. And other times it's going to be using my mother's charm that I learned as a young girl, and in direct communication with those that I've made relationships with, and am able to affect some change that way. But I've got to figure out how I can do my best to help the many who are so anxious and are so afraid.
Firstly, I think she's brave to admit this. She's got more courage than all of these other ass-kissing sycophants in there, like Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, and the list goes on. But yes, Senator, many of us are legitimately afraid. But it is your job as a member of Congress to be the check on the out-of-control, lawless executive branch that we are all living through right now, this fresh hell. And as AG Holder said, you don't have much time to figure this out, sis. Like whether your game plan is to be charming or confrontational. This is war. Like we're in a war for the freedoms of this nation. We are fighting literal modern day Nazis. So I don't know, switch to independent, start caucusing with the Democrats, form a coalition that stops this madman. Do not delay. And this is how far America has fallen just in fewer than 100 days that Trump has been in office. According to The Economist, the Pentagon, under the disastrous leadership of Pete Hegseth, recently asked an ally, and as an aside, do we really have any allies that aren't on the axis of evil anymore? Anyway, recently asked an ally why it was still supplying weapons to Ukraine, a challenge that was ignored. The report mentions that Trump aides are tired of European efforts to strengthen Ukraine. In other words, Trump aides and the Trump regime are tired of fortifying democracy. It's very clear they are not on the side of democracy. And it's very clear if you are just kind of paying attention to the news cycle outside of the bubble of Fox and Newsmax, etc., that Donald Trump is very, very much in the hand of Vladimir Putin. Like, it gives me chills, but I really feel like Vladimir Putin is operating within the White House, that he has all access to anything he wants to know about our government, which is beyond scary. And the regime, the Trump regime, is openly defying a Supreme Court order as it defied Judge Jeb Boasberg's order to turn those planes around on their way to El Salvador that were full of kidnapped migrants.
Has been openly defying court orders in a myriad of cases, including the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. A Maryland federal judge had ordered his return, but the Trump administration has said no.
Now, MS-13 is characterized as they should be, as an FTO, as a foreign terrorist organization. So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story.
I didn't know you could tell a judge no. And also, I will note that the Attorney General, nor the White House, nor the President of the United States, nor El Salvador has given us any evidence that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a criminal.
So all the more reason that we need senators like Lisa Murkowski and anyone else who would join her to align with the right side of history today. Look at brave Senator Chris Van Hollen, who literally put his life on the line by going down to El Salvador to look for and defend one of his citizens. So, let that courage rub off on you. Like, if you need to borrow some of his courage to stand up against this authoritarian regime, Senator Murkowski, et cetera, do it. Do it right now. And as Melissa Murray, a law professor at NYU, points out, the judicial branch cannot be expected to do all the heavy lifting by itself with this runaway and criminal executive branch.
The courts are doing a Herculean job right now, standing up to this administration, but it's not really the job that they were intended to do, or at least not what they were intended to do alone. This is a tripartite system of government. The judiciary is just one branch. The other branch is Congress. And I would say here, with all due respect to Congressman Khanna, who I know from law school, Congress has completely abdicated the field here. And I know that the Democrats are not in a majority here, but this is a situation where a president is acting so lawlessly that Congress should be empowered to act, whether it is through oversight, whether it is through the power of the purse. Turn off the lights in the White House until there is compliance with the judicial order. There are lots of things that Congress can do if it has the will to do it, if it is acting on behalf of the American people. And that is the question here, too.
And I want people to understand this. If you don't stand up and fight now, if you don't take a position now, it's going to be too late.
It's long past go time, and the regime is ratcheting up its tactics. A Trump thug is now threatening to arrest anyone who tries to advocate for wrongfully detained or kidnapped immigrants like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he's just one of many. That's right. Now they're threatening us for using our First Amendment rights, for abiding by the flipping Constitution that this nation was founded on. This is certainly not the America that I thought I lived in, but it's the one that we are dealing with right now. So while law firms fold and are already learning that there is no appeasing a dictator, iconic institutions like Harvard are saying, no, thanks, we'll see your asses in court. Same for Sussman Godfrey, a firm that threatened with an executive order. Well, they turned right around and filed a 66-page counter lawsuit. And in a moment of such cowardice, with some of America's biggest law firms folding, I take great comfort in this excerpt. The firm said that the president's executive order goes, quote, far beyond law firms and lawyers. Quote, the executive order targeting Sussman Godfrey is unconstitutional and retaliatory. No administration should be allowed to punish lawyers for simply doing their jobs, protecting Americans and their constitutional right to the legal process. Today, it is our firm that's under attack, but tomorrow it could be any of us. As officers of the court, we are duty bound to take on this fight against this illegal executive order. Bravo. duty bound. They are adhering to the oath that they took to be officers of the law, to be officers of the court. So that is where we are. And when this is over someday, the heroes will be remembered, but so too will the cowards. And, you shouldn't be in office if you're too afraid to stand up to a criminal thug dictator in the making. Don't be a reporter if you're too afraid to write or speak the truth. Like, if that's too much for you, fine, but then get the hell out. And the more of us that do this, the more of us that step up and coalesce together. It's like one of my favorite representatives, Eric Swalwell, says, the sooner we can cut our time in hell in half, right? Thanks for watching. Please follow me. My socials are linked below. I just started a Substack. I would love it if you guys would come follow and support my work as an independent journalist. I will see you back here soon. And remember, courage is contagious. Peace.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.